Welcome to Cherry Blossom Yoga. I'm Robin Dinerman, and this is a half-hour Hatha Yoga class for beginning and continuing students. We're going to work on some particular areas of the body today. One would be strengthening the muscles around the knees. And later, we'll come down to the floor. We're going to do some arm strengtheners. Now, if you're seated in a chair and you're not able to stand or to come down to the floor, please join me with the deep breathing. Visualize yourself doing these postures, these asana. Stretch when you can. Focus on your breath. And that's all you need to do. So I'd like to start out just with a little bit of warming up for the ankles and the knees. And we're going to stand with the feet more than hip distance apart. And when it comes to the knees, I've noticed with myself and with my older students that you have to be very particular. You have to make adjustments that suit your knees. A number of my students have knee problems, or they've had knee replacements, sometimes hip replacements. So it's a good idea to do this very slowly, carefully, and to really listen to your body. And I have to do this particularly with my left knee, where I've had some problems in the past. So I'm going to warm the knees up just by simply shifting the weight from side to side. And then some people will have their feet, their toes pointed more to the front. I like mine turned out, and this is where you need to experiment and see what works best for your knees. So we're starting small, just shifting the weight from side to side. And you don't want the knees to go farther than the toes, and you want to aim for maybe the middle toe. And now that you've got your little rhythm going from side to side, think about your spine, think about your posture, and knees and shoulders are in alignment. And then your breath. I know usually we start with the breath first, but I wanted you to pay attention to your knees to begin with. So breathing in through the nose, pulling the air down into your lungs. Imagine it fills your body, your belly swells with the in-breath. And when you exhale, let all the air out. Inhale completely, exhale completely. I'm going to heel toe outward a little bit. Here I'm going to be kind of cautious because my knees can feel this. Now, if you haven't warmed up at all, do this really cautiously. You can pause and hold. I have my elbows more in line with my hips to help keep my upper chest lifted, and shift. Even if you want to do some sort of a lunge, you want to keep the knee in line with the toes. So place your feet in a position that feels comfortable for you, shoulders above the hips, and then slowly lower your tailbone. See how far you can come down and hold, and breathe. Breathing in through the nose, you can exhale through the mouth. Imagine you're blowing air into a straw. And then slowly come up. And bring your elbows in towards your hips, hands out slightly into goddess pose. And hold right here. And you'll see after a while the muscles around the knees will tell you if it's time to stop. But you want to build up some strength in the quadriceps, especially if you don't have stairs to climb. If you can, lower the tailbone a little more, bring the elbows out. The upper arms are almost parallel to the floor. It looks like you're surrendering. This is called cactus. And remember, if it becomes too much of a strain, please straighten the knees very slowly. You can still do the arm positions. And then we're going to release and come upward and lower the arms. And you can move your feet around. Check your knees, your hips. You can even swing a hip from side to side. I'm not swinging very hard. This is a really slow movement. Bending one knee and then the other. So back into this wide stance. Shoulders above the hips, lower the tailbone, and we're going to loosely interlace the fingers in front and straighten. And exhale as you lower. And one more time. And exhale, coming down. Inhale, bring the hands above the head, pull the elbows back slightly, the chin is level, and come up and down. So here, I'd like to remind you that when you straighten the knees, I like to do about 98% straight, because people have a tendency to hyperextend the knee. So I like to keep the knees soft. Let's hold for a bit and lower. And then bring one hand on top of the other, arms about shoulder height. We're going to turn to one side and look over the shoulder. Bring the elbow back and come back to center and twist to the other side. Peek over the shoulder or follow the elbow. One more time on each side. And as you lower the arms, straighten the knees, point the toes forward or heel toe back into Tadasana. And I suggest when you practice this on your own, you might want to see how low you can lower the tailbone. Some people can come all the way down to the floor. I don't do that anymore. So that's good for the knees. And I want to do a little bit for the hips. So we're going to draw a circle in the air around the world with the tailbone. So you see we're still bending alternate knees as you bring the pelvis forward, to the side, and back. So there's a pelvic tilt here. And then go the other direction, drawing a circle with your tailbone. and back to center. And we're going to pause for a moment and then come down to the floor. Well, I'll be on the floor when you join me. And we'll do some upper body strengtheners. We'll be back to Cherry Blossom Yoga in just a moment.
Once there was a boy who did the same thing again and again. One day, he was told he had autism. He got help and slowly learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Cherry Blossom Yoga. I am now seated on the floor on my mat. If you are on your chair or on your sofa, that's fine. What I'd like to do before we actually do the arm strengtheners is to do some warm-ups for the upper body. So even if you're in a chair, you can reach forward. So reach one hand after the other. And slowly come back, seated tall, reach up on one side, breathe in, and exhale, lean a bit to the side, and coming back, and release, and the other side up, and lean, and back to center. And hands on top of one thigh and twist. Look over the shoulder. Come back to center. And then the other side, twist. And then if you are seated with your legs cross-legged, bring the back leg in front and we'll repeat again. If you're seated, just repeat this, the stretching through the arms. You can feel the shoulders and shoulder blades move. Come back to center and reach up on one side and lean. Careful you're not leaning forward. Careful the arm isn't forward. It's above the ear or the cheek. And inhale and lower. Exhale. Inhale, reach up. And exhale. And back to center and lower. And hands on top of one thigh, twisting, rotating the rib cage, looking over the shoulder, and releasing back to center and exhaling to the other side. Now, elbows together, palms together, elbows are pressing lightly, and bring the elbows down, exhaling, and arms straight up, inhaling. And again. And then palm against palm, pressing. You'll feel this up the upper arm, into the shoulder, a little bit into the neck, pressing. You can hold your breath here if you want. And release. And the other direction. Breathe in first. Hold your breath. Press. And release. With your arms out in front of you, rotate at the wrist. So now we're moving into the hands. And reverse. Then make fists, and then spread the fingers, pushing outward. Inhale, and you can let the air explode out. And I like to move my fingers in all different directions as I turn the arms. You'll feel all sorts of muscles activated. This is kind of nice to do when you are working at a computer or knitting. Now press the palms together and slowly separate the palms, pressing the fingertips against each other. Notice where you feel this. I feel it in the upper arm. You may feel it differently. And once more. And rest. When we put a lot of pressure on the hands, for instance in downward dog or even in table posture, people often complain that they get a strain through the wrist. So here's what I've learned that is very helpful in distributing the weight and making it much easier to put your weight on your hands. Most people will flatten the hands like this and they'll push down through the inner palm, middle palm. But to avoid that, here's what you do. You make a curve of your hand like it's concave, spread the fingers, and when you press downward, you press more with your thumb, index finger, and middle finger. So you have this little cushion of air under your palm. And you'll see the weight is more here, the heel of your palm, and that these three fingers are helping take some of the pressure off of the wrist. Now, as you know, when these weight-bearing exercises are very good for building bone strength. So a lot of women, in fact, don't have much strength in their arms based on my experience teaching. And so while I'm accustomed to putting a lot of weight on my hands, a lot of my students aren't. So I would suggest that you check yourself, try to do this when you're putting weight on your hands. So one way to do this would be in table pose. So I have the cushion of air under the palms, pressing down with the first two fingers and the thumb, inner elbow turned to face each other. And then I can do the cat stretch and the straight back into table. And then from here, I'm going to push this away. If I tuck the toes under, lift the seat up into downward dog, I really don't feel any pressure in my wrist. So it takes a while to learn how to do that. But the postures like this, downward dog and into a plank, can help build strength in the upper arms. Now in yoga, I've learned to do a yoga push-up. You know, in calisthenics, the hands are like this, far apart. In yoga, we try to have the alignment. So everything is, the arms are in line with the shoulders. The arms are parallel to each other. Now, with the yoga push-up, you're going to actually turn the fingers toward each other. And then what you have to do is move the legs back or into a position that feels comfortable, because the back stays straight, and you bend the elbows and bring the face down to the fingers. And sometimes I have to reposition the legs to find where there's a good fit, because it's kind of a gliding movement forward and back. So I'll show you from the side. Heels turned away from each other. I'm going to bring the knees pretty much outside of the hips. Turn the fingers toward each other. I have a little space in between the hands, and even then, once I get the hands positioned, I even move back more so I can bring the face down to the fingers and press up. And then there's another way to do it where you bring your shoulders back and then forward, which you'll see is a bit harder. So that's it. Try a few of those. See if that works for you. And I suggested to my students, you know, you might try it one day and then wait a day and then try it again. Try a few at a time till you can build up strength. I think if you did too many in too short a time, you would really feel it and then you wouldn't want to do it anymore. So another arm strengthener is, and we did this recently, with the fingers turned back. I have the elbows in close to my body and my feet are slightly flexed. I've got my elbows right up to my rib cage. Now I'm going to point the toes down, firm the buttocks, and press the hips up. Now I don't feel any strain at all in the neck, but you'll feel this in the upper and lower arms. Toes pointed down, now coming onto the heels, the feet flex and reach forward. So come down to the floor, we'll do some leg stretches now. And bring the right knee in, squeeze and release. And then the other leg, squeezing and exhaling, releasing and inhaling. And then both legs up. And let's go into the relaxation. Now, if you want, you can come into Shavasana, the corpse pose with the legs straight. I like to have my knees up and leaning against each other. Another way to do this is to place one hand on your navel and the other hand on top of it. Now take a deep breath in and exhale. Pressing your feet into the mat, pushing your waist into the mat helps flatten the lower back. Now bring your attention to the tip of your nose. Pull the cool, dry air up into the nostrils. Pull it down the throat. Then let it go with a ha sound. Let your eyes sink down into their sockets. Let the muscles encircling your eyes soften and relax. Allow your brow and your scalp to smooth. The muscles around your ears and into your jaws soften. Your tongue floats in your mouth. Your chest rises with the in-breath and sinks with the out-breath. Feel the soles of your feet on the floor. Feel your lower back pressing down comfortably. Your arms are soft and limp, as are your legs. And a feeling of heaviness comes over your body. Follow your breath. Now, if you wish, bring your arms over your head, straighten your legs, take a deep breath, and give yourself a good stretch. And release. Bring your knees up, slightly to the side, press the feet into the floor. Roll onto your side and let your head sink down onto your arm. If you can stay here for a while, you can receive the benefits of all the deep breathing, stretches, postures. If you're ready to get moving, use your top hand to press the floor away. Let your head hang down. Walk your hands back to your body, spiral to the front. Return to a seated position. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're feeling wonderful and that you can carry that feeling with you into your day, into your week, and into your life. Namaste.
(150/90).
180/111.
160/110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.